leaving early. All right, good evening. I want to call to order this meeting of the Town of Wendell Board of Commissioners and welcome all of you. We're happy to have you here tonight. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by two students, if they can both come forward for me. The first is Lake Myra Elementary student Franklin McRae. Come on, Franklin. Come right here. And I also need Ava Pickney. Come stand here with him, please. Franklin is in the 5th grade, and he exemplifies the best of what Lake Myra Elementary has to offer. He leads by example, putting first things first and focusing on the most important things. Franklin is consistently responsible and a student you can always count on, striving to do his very best with every task. Franklin is kind and understanding, seeking first to understand the feelings and opinions of others, and then sharing his ideas with courtesy and compassion. His kindness, empathy, and sweetness are an inspiration to others and an asset to our school community. My goodness, what a fine young man. All right, Ava Pickney is a Wendell Elementary School student, and she's in the 4th grade, she told me. She is a high-flying 4th grader that loves to be creative and excels in academics and is a kind and caring friend. She is even a helper in 1st grade during the day when she goes down and helps 1st grade students improve their writing skills. She enjoys reading books, writing creative stories, and loves doing long division. Ava also sings in the chorus and also has a smile on her face. She is a joy to teach and an amazing 4th grade student. My goodness, what a lovely young lady. All right, they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all. Our invocation tonight from the Wendell Council of Churches, we're going to hear from Calvary Faith Center, Elder Dennis Calhoun. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Before we pray, I'd like to make us aware of a couple things that are going on in our community. A Wendell area 4-H club meets on the 1st and 3rd Thursdays at 6:30 in the evening at Covenant Presbyterian Church. It's for children in grades 1 through 6, and all children are welcome. The main goals of this 4-H club are fun, friends, and trying new things. Agricultural sciences is available, but it's not a primary focus of this particular club, so I just wanted to make the community aware of that.
Thank you.
The second is the Wendell Council of Churches is sponsoring a National Day of Prayer event in May on Thursday, May 2nd at 7 p.m., and it will be at the Ashley Wall Town Square. And again, everyone is welcome to attend. As a note, in 2023, President Biden stated, "I call upon citizens of our nation to give thanks in accordance with their own faith and conscience for our many freedoms and blessings, and I invite all people of faith to join me in asking for God's continued guidance, mercy, and protection." So we look forward to seeing everyone out on Thursday, May 2nd. So with that, Heavenly Father, we come before you in grace and thanksgiving. Father, asking for your wisdom and understanding tonight. Father, thank you for the leadership that you have raised up in this community. We pray that you would continue to give them guidance and wisdom. Father, we thank you for everyone who is here. Thank you for this turnout, and we pray for peace and understanding. Give us all ears to hear and conduct the business that is on the agenda for this evening. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move into our public comment period. The public can participate in public comment in two ways. You can sign up the night of the meeting at the podium by the door, and you have 3 minutes to speak, or you can submit written comments via email to the town clerk by the Friday prior to the Monday's board meeting, and your comments will be read into the record for a length of 3 minutes. Tonight, we have 3 people signed up. As a quick reminder, if you're here to speak about the public hearing that we're going to be holding later, you may want to hold your comments until that time and have them during the public hearing. There'll be an opportunity for you to speak then. So just let me know when I call your name. The first is Philip Tarnaski. Yes, you want to wait? Okay. Benny Collins. Wait. And Wallace Johnson.
I'll defer to you, Mayor.
Wait.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We dispense with that pretty quickly. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, item 4, moving into section 4, recognitions, reports, and presentations. We are recognizing 2 local school staff members. We did not meet at our last meeting, so we're doubling up tonight. And the first is Miss Akila Doss. She's not present tonight, unfortunately, but I still want to tell you about her because I feel like we should still do that. Miss Doss is Lake Myra's Instructional Assistant of the Year. She has been with Lake Myra Elementary School for 2 years and has been such a hardworking and dedicated staff member. Miss Doss enters the building every morning smiling and ready to take on whatever is needed. She takes pride in building relationships with students and goes above and beyond to ensure all students are valued and respected. Ms. Doss holds students to high expectations and creates fun ways for students to learn. Lake Myra is honored to have Ms. Doss as an instructional assistant and part of the Lake family. So we're happy to have her and appreciate everything she does for our kids in Wendell. All right, item 4B is recognition of Wendell Elementary School staff member Miss Sandy Morgan. Miss Morgan's unwavering commitment to her students and exceptional leadership qualities make her truly deserving of recognition. As a dedicated teacher, Sandy goes above and beyond to ensure her students not only excel academically, but also flourish personally. Her tireless efforts extend beyond the classroom, and she takes the time to understand each student's individual needs and provides unwavering support to them. Sandy's passion for education is palpable, inspiring her students to reach their full potential. Moreover, Sandy's role as an outstanding team member is evident in her ability to foster collaboration and cohesion among her colleagues. She leads by example, demonstrating a remarkable work ethic and an innate ability to motivate others. Sandy Morgan's contributions to her students and her role as a team leader undoubtedly make her a shining star in the field of education, worthy of recognition and appreciation. Oh, my goodness. Very high praise.
Yes.
We thank you for everything you do for our kids at Wendell Elementary School and Wendell. We really appreciate it. We wanted to have you here tonight and recognize you for that. So thank you.
Thank you for the recognition.
You're welcome. All right, item 4C is a proclamation recognizing April 20th, 2024 as Autism Awareness Day in the town of Wendell. We received a request for this. We do that sometimes. If that's something that you're interested in, you can just notify the town. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll make the presentation to Christian Price. Whereas autism is a lifelong disability resulting in significant impairment of an individual's ability to communicate, understand social interactions, and develop interactive behaviors, and whereas autism affects not only the diagnosed individual but the entire family and the community at large, and whereas there is currently no identified cause or cure for autism, Autism Works celebrates neurodiversity and works to support individuals on the autism spectrum. And whereas Autism Works is hosting an inaugural sensory walk at Lake Myra Elementary School on April 20th, 2024 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and whereas the event will feature a variety of engaging stations where families can explore different sensory experiences together, from tactile activities to calming spaces, there will be something for everyone to enjoy. And in addition to the sensory stations, there will also be a bounce house for children to play and burn off energy. Whereas information tables will also be available where you can learn about autism diagnosis, support resources, and advocacy efforts. And no event is complete without delicious food and entertaining performances. Now therefore, on behalf of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners, I, Virginia Gray, Mayor of the Town of Wendell, do hereby proclaim April 20th, 2024 as Autism Awareness Day in the Town of Wendell and invite everyone to attend the inaugural sensory walk. Duly proclaim this the 8th day of April 2024, and it's signed by me. So if Ms. Price can come up. Thank you. Did you want to get a picture? Let's do a picture. Come up here.
Come no will. Come in no will.
And I just received a quick update. It's starting at 2 and ending at 5, so there's been a change in the time. Please go out and enjoy that. Okay, item 4D is the introduction of our new town engineer, Brian Bray.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Board of Commissioners. I'm here tonight to introduce a new employee, our town engineer. Sarah Lentine is here with us tonight, and she was hired by the town in January of 2024, following a search for an engineer to join the Public Works Department to assist in the areas of code compliance, stormwater, streets, and sidewalks. Additionally, the position assists other departments with projects that benefit from an engineer's review. Mrs. Lentine holds a BS in civil engineering from West Virginia University and is a professional engineer with over 15 years of experience. She holds certifications in erosion control and sediment control, concrete field technician, work zone traffic control supervisor, and is a master road scholar in the NCLTAP for inspection of curb ramps. Key skills include the project management, contract administration, plan review, and project budgeting. Sarah's last job was with Division II of NCDOT, where she was a resident engineer. And we are honored that Sarah Lentine chose to continue her public service with the town of Wendell and welcome her to our community. She has hit the ground running, and she'll be presenting to you all tonight. And so we're very fortunate to have Sarah. Sarah, would you like to address the board?
Yeah, I have a short introduction in my presentation later, but just to kind of give you a review. With NCDOT, I was there for 17 years, mostly project management and construction. My resident engineer position had me in Greenville, so I was overseeing projects in Beaufort and Pitt counties, most notably the Greenville Bypass, which is a 6-mile design-build project with over 22 structures, and the 10th Street Connector project in the urban area. So that's just a little highlight of my career, but I'm excited to continue my career here at Wendell, and it's a little different, but than what I'm used to, but it's a good difference, so I appreciate the opportunity.
We're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
And then I told her the other day, or Saturday, that when I've mentioned we have a new town engineer and who it is, the people will go, oh. So we like that. We like somebody to be a strong advocate for us, so thank you for doing that and your advocacy. I actually grew up down there, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right, good.
In Beaufort County, yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, section. We'll move into section 5, our public hearings. The first one, item 5A, is a public hearing to rezone approximately 1.17 acres located at 10 and 20 Harris Street from residential 2 and residential 3, conditional to residential 4. Mr. Coates.
Yep, good evening, Mayor and board members. Tonight, I am actually the applicant, and so the town of Wendell owns this land that the rezoning is being proposed on, And so we have a little bit different role. So I'm going to go as the applicant. There are representatives from Habitat here as well, and so I can hopefully answer any questions you have. We're asking you tonight to hold a public hearing on the proposed rezoning request and make a motion to adopt the attached ordinance. Town of Wendell is requesting to rezone roughly 1.17 acres located on Harris Street from residential 2, residential 3 conditional district to residential 4. The intent is to allow for the development of 4 homes on the lots in partnership with Habitat for Humanity of Wake County. The properties are located at 10 and 20 Harris Street and can be identified by the pins referenced. Here's a site map. The 2 parcels that are proposed for rezoning are highlighted in red. The 3rd parcel, which is also part of the potential project with Habitat, is the residential 2 parcel to the north. That is not part of the rezoning, but it would be part of their project. To the west, where you see the neighborhood center conditional district, that's the Magnolia Towns project that's under construction. It's a townhome community where they have dedicated 5 acres in the southern half for a public works facility and 8 acres for a neighborhood park that runs along the South Main Street Greenway, which is in design currently, that would front along a few of these lots. The street was recently installed, the Harris Street extension, as part of a zoning condition with the Magnolia Towns project. As I said, the subject properties are located in currently residential 2 and residential 3. The 3 is a conditional district. The property at 10 Harris, which is currently part of the Holly Lake subdivision, was originally used in part of a rezoning from August 1986, with the condition that that subdivision only be developed with single-family detached dwellings. The surrounding properties in the areas are zoned R2, R3, and neighborhood center. The abutting properties are all single-family residential, including townhomes to the west. The South Main Street Greenway project does separate these lots from the townhome community. The request is for residential 4. Our residential districts are coded for the town's existing predominantly residential neighborhoods, as well as to provide for new primarily residential development in accordance with development patterns. These districts are separated by a density and the overall development of the town. If approved, all of the permitted uses in residential 4 would be allowed on these properties. As the town being the owner of the properties, if the rezoning is approved, the next step would be to convey the parcels to Habitat for the purpose of affordable housing. The R4 land use chart was attached. The minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet. You can see the lot dimensions that each home would have to meet. And to meet 6,000 square feet, either the lot depth needs to be longer or the lot width needs to be wider. And so those are minimums, but you still need to meet the overall 6,000 square feet. A buffer is not required between residential 4 and residential 2 or residential 3. However, rear yard plantings are required. Town's UDO requires 1 tree and 1 shrub where the rear yards meet for every 15 feet of property line. Blueprint Wendell does classify this area as downtown fringe, which is appropriate for 1- and 2-story homes. The rezoning would provide for a transition from the townhome community to the larger single-family lots to the east. The proposed rezoning is roughly a half-mile walk to the intersection of Main and 3rd, which we consider probably the heart of downtown Wendell. The walkability of this location with the potential, with the greenway that's under design now and the neighborhood park all being walkable to these new residential units provides that connectivity and also creates a neighborhood feel. With any rezoning, we make a recommendation and also explaining how the change is or is not consistent with the comp plan. This rezoning, if approved, is consistent with downtown fringe place type in Blueprint Wendell 2030. Single-family homes are certainly encouraged in that place type, as well as other housing types. One of the goals of the comp plan, neighborhood and housing, is diversify housing to appeal to different groups, age, income, lifestyle preference, and family situations. Second one, neighborhoods and housing support the construction of new complementary housing of a price point that's similar to the value of existing homes. And then downtown D2-1, consider opportunities to diversify the uses in downtown, including residential. Neighborhood meeting, Town of Wendell held the neighborhood meeting on March 4th. The meeting notice and notes were included in the attachments. At that time, no residents that adjacent property owners did attend. Habitat did attend for questions. Staff comments. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the Wendell Comprehensive Blueprint Wendell 2030 and could be considered reasonable as it fulfills goals of the comp plan noted above. Planning Board action at their March 18th, 2024 meeting, the Planning Board voted 7-0 in favor of recommending approval of the rezoning. I can field any questions that you have. Habitat is here to answer any questions you may have as well.
Okay, let's open the public hearing. Any questions yet from the board? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? Okay, one at a time. Give me your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Town of Wendell. I'm Phil Tarnaski, former town commissioner, and live at 230 Folk Street, Wendell, North Carolina. And that is currently my parents' home. They've been there 44 years, and they did not know about that 4th meeting, just so you know. But anyways, we got a letter. We saw the sign over there 3 weeks ago today, and we called in to find out what it was all about. And everyone called, and I talked to all the commissioners and all. It was nice. Thank you for answering my phone calls and texts. Just concerned about the density, not matching the current density. When they, even my neighbor that owns the other lot that's not part of those, there's 4 lots there, and they're planned for certain homes there. It doesn't matter what the homes are. I want the density to stay the same as the matching neighborhood. That way, the homes that are being built, they're Habitat homes, they'll have more, space for the kids to play in a better area. And it'll look like all the other neighborhood homes. It won't change the feel of the neighborhood for the last 44 years they've been there. And that's all we're looking for. I mean, in the 4 years I was town commissioner, it's been nothing but high density. I would like to find out or be invited to a meeting when we do have a low-density subdivision, not just in the calculations, but in actual lot sizes of quarter acre, half acre, not square feet, like 5,000, 6,000 square foot, and packing them in there. I think 2 things have failed in the last 4 years when I was town commissioner, and I'm sure it will pass, and that's fine, but I would like to just see 3 there, so they have nicer lots, like I said, room for the kids and for those families that you're putting there. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Your name and address, please.
Benny Collins, reside at 302 West 2nd Street, Wendell. Mayor, Commissioners, it's always an honor to come before you. So, first of all, my association with Habitat for Humanity has been for a number of years. Currently in the East Wake Faith Coalition Coordinator, which coordinates the churches in East Wake County to participate in Habitat bills. I'm also an FOH, which is a friend of Habitat, is a leader, a volunteer leader for the construction, so I'm very much involved in how these homes are constructed and the quality of it. I stand before you tonight to tell you they are very, very high quality. I also do a bit of advocacy. That's why I'm here tonight. I know it's what brings me here most of all is to share with you. You can hear all other things. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to attend quite a few of the home dedications and speak and pray with the families that are coming in, and to see the smiles on their faces, the warmth, just the knowledge that they have a safe, affordable home for their children to raise their families. And in such a community as we have at Wendell of caring and taking care of each other. The walkability of this, I mean, this is a win-win-win. I mean, I used to live on Harris Street many years ago. I mean, this is going to be a very nice addition to the neighborhood that I can see. But I'm not going to take my 5 minutes because I'm sure there's some others that's going to, and I know y'all should appreciate it because I've been where you are before. Thank y'all for your support. Please, we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone, no outbursts? No clapping, I'm sorry. No clapping, no outbursts. Okay, give me your name and address.
Wallace Johnson. I live at 308 Folk Street. And 308 Folk Street is actually directly beside part of the property that is up for rezoning. And I personally am very excited about some new neighbors, and I look forward to personally helping with a lot of those houses. But I want to speak a little bit about, we see affordable housing a lot, and that is true, if there is such a thing anymore, I don't know. But I want to talk about like safety, security. So as a pastor, I am privy to a lot of information that most people just are not. I get to sit in people's homes that don't look like mine, and it's a really difficult thing to see. This past year, I worked with a family who had bullet holes through their walls, a different family who had terrible mold in their house and were insulating their home with newspapers. I worked with a family who had had lead in their pipes and their landlord would not do anything about it. I worked with a family who was being evicted because they had gone up on their affordable rent for several $100s. I think we live in this really pretty wonderful town, quaint homes, and we live, I don't want to be presumptive, but I think we live fairly comfortable lives, and we're not able to see homes that are not so safe. And I think Habitat really thrives in that sort of thing, giving people opportunity for safe homes, for homes that they can get into and be proud of and enjoy. It's not so, I take for granted that I come home after a crazy day and send the kids outside to play while I get food ready, and I literally never worry about that. And so my hope for Wendell is that we would have more accessibility to safe housing. I look forward to working with them, and I am so grateful for the town. I actually had a very eloquent email written to all of y'all about 2 months ago after some of these experiences had happened, like sort of blasting you for saying we've got to do something about this. This is a serious issue. And it sat in my inbox for a few days and I just deleted it. But I am so proud of Wendell for taking this step. And I've not been here for 40 years, lived here for 6 years. Look forward to many more. Yeah, thank you, town. Thank you, Habitat. Thanks, Benny. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I know y'all are passionate, but if I let all that clapping and stuff get started, it'll get away from me, and I can't reel it back in. So I have to have a little rule about it. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Dr. Parham, you come up here next, okay? I think I saw your hand.
Every time.
That's okay.
Mayor Gray and Town Commissioners, my name is Patricia Birch, and I am CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Wake County. Thank you for listening to our comments tonight. At Habitat Wake, we serve families and individuals through affordable home ownership opportunities. Since 1985, Habitat Wake has built over 900 quality, affordable homes in Wake and Johnston counties. I am here to express my support for the rezoning of 10 and 20 Harris Street. By allowing for higher density zoning, Habitat Wake can build 4 affordable homes in Wendell, doubling the number of Habitat homes in the town. And with one other, will surpass the number of town. This project will help expand housing options for Wendell residents and those who work in Wendell but live elsewhere due to high housing costs. Affordable homeownership promotes housing stability and provides a tool for building wealth, resulting in future upward economic mobility for the people we serve. Studies have shown that the neighborhood where you grow up is the #1 determinant of your life's outcome, and town of Wendell would be a great neighborhood to grow up. That's because housing is a key driver of where you go to school, what kind of health care you can access, whether you can breathe clean air, and much more. Our project will give 4 individuals or families the opportunity to buy an affordable home in a thriving mixed-income community with amenities like the future Main Street Greenway. We are excited to partner with the town of Wendell to bring more affordable housing options to our community, and I hope we can continue our partnership beyond this project. Please support this affordable housing partnership by approving the rezoning of Harris Street properties. Thank you for your time, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Parham?
Good evening again, Mayor and
He
Commissioners.
was a commissioner. I know. He was just talking about I said your name.
Should I go?
Yes,
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
I'm not eating up your time. We'll let you.
Okay. I just want to take this opportunity to,
Can you give us your name and address, even though I already said your name?
James Parham, 17 Deer Lake Trail, Wendell, North Carolina. And I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate the mayor and the commissioners for the job that they're doing here in Wendell. Because as John and the mayor know, affordable housing was a taboo word a long time ago. And I'm just glad that the commissioners and the mayor cooperatively have tackled this problem and they're doing something about it. So I just want to congratulate you guys for doing that.
Anyone else? A lot of people in here. I know there's more. All right, are there any comments from the board?
I have one real quick question from the applicant. I think I heard you say 4 houses on this lot. Can just one of y'all talk about sort of what the plan is, 4 houses on the portion that's being rezoned tonight?
Can the applicant come up?
I got a nod. I mean, I think it's, sorry.
Okay, somebody.
Yes, so the current plans in discussion with Habitat are on the 2 lots that are being rezoned, there would be 4 homes, and on the third lot, which is not part of the rezoning, there would be 1 additional for a total of 5 homes.
And so that's the 1.17 acres that we're talking about tonight, 4 homes, so a little over 1/4 acre per lot, depending on how they get subdivided.
Correct.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Coates, what would be the size of the other lot, the northernmost lot? How would that compare to the other ones?
The northern lot is, I believe, roughly 0.7 acres, so it's a large lot.
Okay.
Anything else? You?
I have a question for the applicant too. This may be Habitat. What is the maximum income for a family of 4?
Let's let her come to
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
podium. That's okay. That's okay. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're going to test me on numbers.
Well, so I'm just trying to get a feel for,
I believe the maximum income, and don't quote me on this because it's a sliding scale, but I believe for it's about $86,000 a year.
right, okay.
And I can confirm that and get back with you as well.
Typically, what type jobs do individuals like that have?
It can be teachers, it could be policemen, entry-level teachers, entry-level policemen. It can also be certified nursing assistants. We have some nurses in our program. We actually, right now, even have a part-time professor at NC State in our program. So it is a wide variety of positions that our families hold.
Okay. What makes it, I guess, can you project the market price? What I'm getting at is, what makes it affordable housing? The financing factor, not the quality or the price, correct?
That is correct. So we sell all of our homes at market value so that we do not devalue neighborhoods. We do that on purpose. The way that we make them affordable is through the financing. So that on this home, there would likely be a first mortgage that is repayable by the family at a low interest rate. And then there would be a second mortgage that is not repayable unless the home is sold or transferred. and that is to protect the equity in the house and protect the family from any kind of predatory lending.
Do you know the size and the potential market price these houses will be listed at?
So the size we are thinking is about 1,150, 1,200 square feet. It's a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom kind of garden home. And then the price, 315 to 350.
Okay.
So if it was 315, then the repayable first mortgage would be $217,000.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
One more question for the applicant.
okay.
So if my math is right, on the side where we're rezoning, it's about 14,000 square feet. So even though the minimum is 6, it's the 0.3 acres to Commissioner Eatman is going to be about 14,000 square feet, i.e. 0.3 of an acre, correct?
So just to clarify, I looked in IMAPs, the parcel to the north that is not part of the rezoning is 0.45 acres, so just under a half.
So that one's at 0.45. The others, if it's approximately equal, will be about 0.3. Even though the minimum is 6,000.
Potentially, whenever the subdivision gets submitted, we just review to make sure it meets the minimum. So the lots could vary. They have to be a minimum of 6,000 square feet.
Okay, so you could have one larger lot if it lays out that way and a smaller lot. The reason why I ask that is when I have a citizen express concern about density and he says, okay, a quarter acre is what I'm shooting for, by the math, it's going to be a third, theoretically, and the other side certainly is going to be 0.47.
Yeah, the lot on the north will be 0.45. That's not part of a rezoning nor a subdivision. The lots on the south, there'll be 4 homes on roughly 1.17 acres.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have a question? Any questions down here? Okay, let's close the public hearing. And- Well, we've already closed the public hearing. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Do you want to let him? That's fine. All right. Well, we're going to reopen the public hearing if you would like to. I'll reopen the public hearing. Is that okay, Mr. Cawley?
I just want to ask a couple of questions, if I may. May I?
You may. I'm going to reopen the public hearing, and we can allow you to ask your questions, and then maybe the town staff will, or whoever, the applicant or someone can
Okay,
answer them.
my name is Mickey Phillips. I'm at 4 Forest Lane in Wendell. Did I hear correctly that you said there was a public announcement, something about this whole situation prior to today, or?
And then what's your other question?
The other question was are there 4 lots and there are going to be 5 houses on those 4 lots, or how exactly is that going to work?
Okay.
And why would you want, if you got 4 lots, why wouldn't there be 1 house on a lot?
Okay.
That's
Thank you. We'll get it. Okay.
okay.
Mr. Coates, talk about the notice first.
Yep. So as part of any rezoning or special use permit, the applicant, in this case was the town of Wendell, we have to hold a neighborhood meeting. We held that on Monday, March 4th. Letters went out to adjacent property owners notifying them of the neighborhood meeting. They were the same notifications that went out for tonight's public hearing as well, and signs get posted for a public hearing.
Can you tell us real specifically what adjacent property owner, what that means?
Yeah, so basically it
Statutorily.
means your property touches the parcels being rezoned, or you're directly across the street or across the greenway or directly adjacent.
Next door or right across the street?
Both.
Yeah, either one, though, of those would be okay.
Yep.
Okay, now talk about the number of lots and number of houses.
So there are 2 lots being rezoned, and then there is 1 lot that the town owns that is not part of the rezoning. So there are 3 lots for a total that will be 5 homes. So they will take the 2 lots on the south that are part of the rezoning if approved and create 4 homes on that and create 4 individual lots. So there'll be 5 homes total of the project, 4 on the land that's proposed to be rezoned.
And 1 on the piece that's not part of this public hearing tonight.
Correct.
So 5 houses total.
Yep.
Excuse me? Yeah, and 5 separate lots. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. All
You're
right,
welcome.
Now I'm closing the does anyone else want to speak? Okay, we'll close the public hearing for the last time. And I think it's important that people not have questions, though, and I like to make sure everyone is able to be heard. All right. Gentlemen?
Madam Mayor,
Comments?
I'll make a comment and then I'll have a
Okay.
motion. I appreciate Dr. Parham's comment. I remember, like the evolution of a growing community is that the meaning of words sometimes changes. And the position that we're in to do stuff about it, it also changes. In this instance, a road got put right through the middle of property that was owned by the town, and it's given the town a unique opportunity. And I'm certainly, I know how much home ownership has meant for my family, and certainly think Habitat is, and Mr. Collins has warned me out over the years about what a great partner Habitat is. And so with that, Madam Mayor, whenever you're ready, I'll have a motion for, Madam Mayor, I move we adopt the rezoning request and approve the attached ordinance.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the rezoning request and adopt the attached ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, this is a tough one for me because fundamentally, and I'm gonna just give you the facts of the case as I see them. Due to town action, there's an 8-acre park for Magnolia Towns. There's a Main Street Greenway that's gonna happen. I don't like the term necessarily, and I know it's not my place to say this, but workforce housing makes you think that perhaps it's not the quality or standard of price. I'm sorry, affordable housing. Again, I like workforce housing. That's what I'm shooting for. I have a hard time voting against a first responder, a policeman, a fire person, a teacher, a professor, an educator. That's fundamentally against what I would be tough to vote against. I believe that if you work here, you should have the fundamental right to live here. I think the Harris Road frontage, the specific spot we're talking about, was created by town action. So when Magnolia Towns came in, that gave us the road frontage, again, to Commissioner Joyner's point, a unique opportunity. I'd almost argue it was an excellent planning choice by the planning department, the town manager, and staff. The UDO requires harmonious transition. But when I see high density, which is Magnolia Towns, and I go to medium density, which is 0.25 to one citizen's comment, or 0.45, and then I go to low density, 0.75, and I have a resident who's sitting here on 0.75 who says he'd love to have this behind him, that sounds like that's harmonious. That sounds like that's a transition that you want to have. If no one had showed up and spoke for this, and I only had negative opinion, I would have probably said something like this, because I had this written down. I think the voices of current citizens should matter. And even if I don't personally agree with it, I probably would have sided with you and voted, even though I don't personally agree with you in this particular instance. I won't always do that. But it's not lost on me that I sit in a chair that an individual spoke tonight. And I think that he needs to have a voice. I think the people that supported him in the past need to have a voice. I think that's important. And how I assign value is, I think there's importance that those voices are not marginalized. With that said, when I see the vast majority of the current citizens in the room, specifically the person that lives literally in front of them, go, hey, I like this, here's the case, I don't know that you can have a better situation when you go from high density to medium density to low density. That's where an apartment or a condo is. That goes to 0.2 or 0.3 or 0.45, and it goes to 0.75, which is what currently is on Folk Street, okay? I personally live on 0.2. I would only pass something or approve of something. This is twice my size, or at least 50% more than the size I currently live on myself. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll just say real quick, Madam Mayor, affordable is not cheap. And so I think that, affordable housing, affordability is a fundamental issue with home ownership right now in general. I don't think it's any secret that I am an advocate for home ownership. I'm also a follower of an EMT, works for Wake EMS. I appreciate feedback from folks, especially the people that live around the project, people that don't live around the project. We're willing to hear anyone that has an opinion, quite honestly. But in this particular case, I'm hearing that there's an opposition to size. We've clarified the size piece as being 1/4 acre or more. And if you know anything about Habitat, there's a presentation in our packet about home ownership through Habitat. I've personally been on a build on Habitat, and I can just say that the affordability piece and what they do and the quality of the home that is built, it is a win for our town. It is a win for future citizens of our town, and I can say that I personally am proud to be sitting here, and I am in support. So that is my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else from the board? All right, so we have a motion to approve the proposed zoning request and adopt the attached ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Item 5B is a public hearing on an update of the UDO, Chapter 6, Environmental Protection, and we're going to hear from our new town engineer, Sarah Latine. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Lentine.
Lentine, okay.
Think of dentine gum.
Okay, thank you. That's good for me. Thank you very much.
So, thanks for hearing me today about the environmental protection section of the UDO. Instead of going through the UDO itself, I'm just going to kind of tell you where we've been and where we need to be and what changes had to be made to get there. Like I said, I had an overview here of my career so far, so you've heard most of it. One thing I left out was that I was also the contract engineer for Division 2 for a few years, so I have a lot of experience with putting together contracts and estimates and stuff like that. So why do we need to update this UDO? It's part of our growth management goal of the comprehensive plan. Whoa, sorry. There you go. Of the comprehensive plan blueprint. We've had updates to the North Carolina Administrative Code, including the nutrient strategy, which we fall under. And then we had different session laws that were passed regarding water supply, watershed protection changes, stormwater program changes, and session laws regarding the transfer of state-issued stormwater permits. So we are required to adopt those policies by July 1 of this year. And we have also need to do updates so we can meet our MS4 permit requirements. Just give you a background of what MS4 is. EPA passed the Clean Water Act in '72, and that included the NPDES, National Pollution Discharge Elimination Systems, which are used to track and control point sources of pollution. In 1975, the delegated authority to the states. For us, it's the NCDEQ. And then in 1990, they started the MS4, the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. And the first phase was just for large cities. In '99, they did phase 2 for smaller communities. We didn't meet the requirements of that until 2011, and that's when we got our first permit. Currently, our permit is expired. It expired January 31st of '23. This isn't to our fault. DEQ is overwhelmed with permit renewals, and they cannot renew it at this time due to the workload. So we are scheduled for renewal in spring of 2025. These are the requirements for the MS4 permit: funding the stormwater program, implementing a comprehensive stormwater management plan, documenting program implementation, reporting annually, obtaining a new permit every 5 years, and the 6 minimum control measures. We're going to focus on those 6 minimum control measures because that's where we need to make those updates in the UDO. These are those 6 minimum control measures, and we're going to go through those, each one. First one is public education outreach. we've got this down. We got a Harvest Festival tent, where we do outreach. We've provided educational information on the Newtown website. We've done, these are no longer upcoming, we've done these, the educational workshop with elementary children at the Track Out program, and then also a workshop with the FFA students at East Wake High School. Another requirement is public involvement and participation. We have our annual Creek Week event, which we just had. We do litter sweeps. Our annual neighborhood cleanup counts as this, and, our yard waste collection that everybody's involved in. Illicit discharge detection and elimination. Current UDO, we address the illicit discharge, but we have no ability to monitor and enforce. Our updated UDO will include the enforcement of ordinance through civil penalties, and criminal penalties. And it allows us to access facilities for inspection, sampling discharges, and requiring installation of monitoring equipment if it's a repeat offender. This just shows you why this is important. August of '23, a resident of Wendell contacted the police department about oil that was contaminating his private pond from the town's storm drain system. You can see here in the pictures where it's coming out. Our stormwater administrator investigated this and found another resident had been putting used motor oil into a drainage outlet. And this wasn't just from a regular vehicle, this was from a tractor trailer. So with the current UDO, we aren't able to do anything to enforce the illicit discharge. So we provided education, and then our crews went out and used absorbent socks to prevent any further contamination to the pond. So with the new UDA, we'd be able to charge penalties and get back some of the costs that we had to incur to clean that up. Another requirement is construction site runoff controls. We do address some of the needed requirements in the current UDO. The updated UDO follows the Neuse River Nutrient Management Strategy and those administrative codes for stormwater design that we talked about earlier, and defines built-upon area standards. Yeah.
The middle point specifies NC administrative codes. Is that like updating the reference to where the code is in the chapter?
Yes. Just to give you a broad overview of the Neuse nutrient strategy, what it's doing is it's regulating the use of nutrient pollution, like any fertilizers and whatnot, getting into the stormwaters and then to our waterways, which ends up suffocating our fish because of the algae blooms and everything. All right, for post-construction runoff controls, again, it addresses most of the needed requirements, but we need an update to change the final approval requirements of the new stormwater systems. One of the changes is requiring video inspection of pipe. So this is for the builders building these new subdivisions. When we're done building it, we take over the maintenance of these pipes, and they're not always installed correctly. As you see here on some of the video that we've seen, the seal is broken on the top of that one, and this one down here is just a broken pipe. So we're able to identify the issues, and they can get those repaired before we take over maintenance and end up having additional costs to the taxpayers. We also are requiring them to give us GIS files. That way we can keep our GIS map updated for our stormwaters system.
So is that, I know that, I think our last meeting or recently I learned that we now have the ability to do that. Is that us going out and doing that inspection? Are we videoing the line?
Well, we have that for our existing pipes. Currently, the builders are doing it for us, and that's what this also is requiring, but it's not written.
Didn't we
They
go
don't
get,
have to at this point.
didn't we go get video line because we don't trust the builders when they send us the video?
So we have the capacity to double check or reinforce what's provided. If we see something or it's unclear, we need to go back and
Right.
check something. We do have the equipment to do that now, but we don't have the capacity of staff to do all the video. For instance, Raleigh has a special unit that's robust that can go out and inspect a water or sewer line with the video team. We don't have that built into our capacity. We can spot check to make sure that what we're being provided is accurate.
So currently, the builders do the video inspection, provide us with the digital file so we can review it. Any areas identified that need to be repaired, get repaired, and they provide a new video of that line of pipe to show that the repair's been done. For pollution prevention and good housekeeping, we have several programs. That helps a lot with keeping leaves and everything out, debris out of the stormwater system. Spill response program, that's a new thing for us. We had training for Public Works Department and other key employees is going to be coming soon. We have spill kits located at key locations in all the town buildings, and we have signs placed at town buildings with the hotline information in case there's a spill. We have equipment washout location. Currently, at Public Works, we have this device. It's a storm drain filter for soil, debris, and oils. And with our future Public Works facility, it will include an oil water separator for a washout area. All right, yeah, and so I presented this to the planning board, and they voted in favor. So that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions?
Okay, so open the public hearing.
Admittedly, this was before you joined the town, since it was just a few months ago, but based on some other separate things that the legislature recently, I know we went through a pretty exhaustive exercise of decriminalizing municipal ordinances. So just curious about how, I mean, as much as that picture you put up makes me want to find a way to throw the book at somebody too, it seems like the first criminal ordinance that we would have adopted since we repealed a whole bunch of criminal ordinances. So just kind of curious on staff perspective and whether that's you or Mark or anybody else. I'm happy to hear feedback from any of you.
All right. Well, I know when we were putting together the UDO, we were modeling it after neighboring communities, Nightdale and Cary being some that we were referencing and seeing what they had in theirs to make sure we were on par with other communities.
Do we know if any of those communities have used the penalties portion?
I do not know.
Any other questions from the board?
One quick question, maybe a Mr. Bray question. So out of every 10 we inspect, how often have we caught someone giving us something that wasn't quite up to snuff?
We don't have specific data like that. We would need to go back and review our data and bring that.
Copy.
I don't want to just throw out numbers without proper staff research.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody from the public, anyone from the public that would like to speak? I think so. Public hearing. Yeah. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Anything else from the board?
Mark, do you have any thoughts or feedback? Just curious on your perspective on my question. And where I'm at is conceptually, without sort of a compelling case, I'd be inclined to support all of it, just minus that one provision. I don't know if that's something that would need to happen at a later date or could happen tonight. So think about that in your answer.
I think at this point, if the board has a willingness to get us up to date with our ordinance to be compliant, and then allow me and the town attorney to review the application of civil versus criminal and make sure they're in the appropriate places and report back to the board. And if you'd like a text amendment to come back, we're glad to do that. Is that?
I'd rather not adopt it to come back and
All right,
repeal
well,
it.
I'm glad to do that and then bring it back at a following meeting. Either way is fine with staff.
Do you have any opinion about it, Mr. Cawley?
Tell me again the nature of the concern.
Well, we did that the legislature told us all the local governments to review all our criminal ordinances, and so we repealed, I don't know if all of them or a whole bunch, and everybody across the state did. And I know that wasn't like then a prohibition on criminal municipal ordinances, but the point was we shouldn't just have a whole bunch of criminal ordinances on the books in all these towns that vary so much from town to town. Appreciate that these are modeled off of neighboring towns, but I think part of that exercise, at least how I understood it from the legislature, was to get us thinking very seriously and consciously about every time we adopt a criminal ordinance, in addition to things that already exist in the general statutes.
And there is a provision that maybe reinforces that perception, because an ordinance a municipal ordinance that now contains a criminal provision requires a second reading.
We're going to have a second reading either way. Can it be amended during the process?
Well, if we just waited, couldn't we have the whole thing presented to us without that, and then it would just take one reading? That may be a you question.
I'm still not following. You want to take the criminal provision out?
Yeah. I mean, unless somebody's got a compelling reason why it needs to be there. I'm not, it sounds like that's what everybody else does, not there's a reason.
I thought the example given was a good reason.
My reading is like, subsection Y, number 2 on page 91, kind of going into page 92. It provides for civil penalties as our local issue, where it deviates away from criminal. There's specific references to state statute of public health and safety concerns caused by the issue, and that's where it goes to the criminal, but there's a statutory reference associated with it. But I'm glad to go back and look at each specific one to make sure the concern is addressed, because I understand what you're saying. But that's been my reading to date.
The criminal language is on 108. Section 8, paragraph 8 at the top of that page. Makes a violation a misdemeanor and provides for a penalty and imprisonment.
Your point, Commissioner, staff would like the chance to go back and look at your concern and make sure that's cleared out, because it seems to say two different things in two different places right now.
Madam Mayor, I move we table this item until our next meeting.
Okay, have a motion to table this to our next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. we'll move into our administrative items. Item 6A is the Mead on Main road closure and co-sponsorship request for 2024.
Good
Ms. Smith.
evening. Mead on Main is back, so I'm here tonight requesting the board approve the street closure and co-sponsorship request for the 2024 Mead on Main events as listed below: April 19th, May 17th, June 21st, September 20th, and then October 18th as a rain date. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the temporary closure of a section of Main Street and Campus Street, Depot Street, and the co-sponsorship request for the 2024 Mead on Main events.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the temporary closure of the section of Main Street, Campen, and Depot.
Can I get just a quick question? I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, that's okay.
Just on that Main Street there, all the lines that are sitting there right there, kind of the intersection of Second Street, I'm just curious what those lines are. Is that the stage representation?
Yeah, for this year, the stage would be moved back out of the intersection and further down Main Street just a little bit
Okay, but the road closure still will go all the way to Second Street or just toward the stage there?
to Second Street.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with that.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the temporary closure of a section of Main Street, Campen, and Depot, and approve the co-sponsorship request for 2024 Mead on Main events.
I just want to say one thing to that, too. I've discussed with the town staff before, too, and I understand I'm in a weird predicament with my office being right there at the end of Second Street. Just with medical care and patient care, the stage there, I like my patients to have access to kind of my drive-through for drop-off. So with where it is on the Second Street, like I said, I would be fine approving it, but I would like some sort of concession with handicap parking from my office. I've dealt with patients too before who are handicapped, and that proximity to the office is kind of important to them. We're closing down a little early for the first one for that day, but I know going forward it may not be quite that same situation. I always sit up there too. So either having access to the handicap position or having access to the drive-through for my patients who are needed that would be helpful. I don't know if that creates a conflict at all in this situation at all for myself, but otherwise, I'm totally in favor of the Mead on Main. I'm totally in favor of what we're doing. I don't think that's anything against that at all. I'm fine with the stage being where it is. I just like having some sort of access to for my patients is all.
I don't think it's a doctor's office right in the middle of that. I think that's a legitimate request. Is there a way that Public Works could be aware of patients when they close the street to leave a little opening?
My understanding is we were closing it like we do the other large events to where that flow-through would still be there.
So they'd still have access to the doctor's
That was
office
the
there?
Yeah,
conversation
we
had
can
with
work with
Mead
you to
on
make sure that access is
As long as that's fine, we're working with that. We can make exceptions for that Beautiful Fridays. That's fine. Thank you.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Item 6B is the adoption of updated financial goals and policies.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Johnson.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board. So each year during the preparation of the annual budget document, staff reviews the already adopted financial goals and policies document. Look to see if any amendments need to be added, removed, wordsmithing, whether that's for regulatory changes, best practice updates, advisement from our financial advisors or any other type of third-party entity such as that. Again, while it's reviewed annually, we haven't requested any updates since 2019, which would have been in preparation of the 2020 budget. So we're about 5 years removed from any amendment. So it was certainly due for some. The policy document itself is broken into 8 categories. The whole document was included in your agenda packet. But the 8 categories are accountability, budget, fund balance and reserves, cash management, capital improvement plan, tax rate and fees, debt management, and asset replacement schedule. So on the slide and in your agenda, there's the 3 amendments that we are proposing for adoption. There's some language in there that currently requires that if we're proposing a increase in the tax rate as part of a budget, that we are also required to present a balanced budget showing a decrease of similar magnitude. We're asking to just remove that that statement entirely. The next change would be the addition of language defining kind of a cash management, the assumed payment terms for vendors. A lot of times it's already predetermined on the face of the invoice or an agreement, just so that we're clear as staff and have some kind of language defining it, stating that we would like to make the default terms net 30, which is pretty consistent with most state term contracts as well. So kind of going off of that, piggybacking off that. And then finally, adding some language, establishing a procedure for staff to request board approval to temporarily deviate from debt management ratio policies when issuing new debt. We consulted with Davenport, our financial advisors, to kind of provide us some language for that. You've seen the presentation a few times at this point, particularly with the capital projects we have coming down the pipeline pertaining to the bond referendum that was approved in the fall. There's a small window of time where that particular, I believe it was the debt to operational expenditure ratio goes a little bit out of compliance for about a 4-year window, I believe it is. So in instances like that, we would like to have the latitude to come to y'all, explain why we may be voluntarily putting ourselves out of compliance, if you will, for a defined reason and for a best estimated span of time before we would get back into compliance. So those are the 3 amended languages for the policy update. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, seeking adoption of the policy.
Any questions, Mr. Johnson?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me the why? I'll guess, was it waste of staff time to take out the first one?
That was my wild idea. It was my wild idea from 2015-ish.
2016 might have been the previous.
16, it was a time when we did budgets differently, and I was trying to get a different type of budget presented, but it's certainly not something we need anymore. Our staff is, based on the fact that they're here 3 months early, showing us a proof of how they want to lay out the budget and what the formatting is going to look like. This is not, I'm happy for that portion, even though it's I occasionally have a good idea. I'm happy for that one to be removed because it's no longer necessary, and I would hate for it to be cumbersome. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from the board? Comments? What's our pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I move we adopt the proposed updates to the financial goals policies document.
We have a motion to adopt the proposed updates to the financial goals and policies document. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. All right, thank you. Item 6C is a discussion on the proposed budget ordinance language. Mr. Johnson again.
Thank you. So included in your agenda packet was a sample draft budget ordinance. The template itself is very much what you've seen in your proposed budget documents in years past. Just proposing some additional and clarifying languages to the template, just to run by the board for level of comfort. First, we've kind of always done it this way, but we want to add some language to make it clear that the budget is being adopted at the departmental level, not necessarily the line item level of detail that is presented to you. So just want to make that clear in the ordinance document. We want to expand on the estimated revenues presentation. Currently, it lists each department at the departmental level, but the revenues was just a lump sum number that met the required balanced budget. So we want to get more granular with estimated revenues, and the categories are pretty well accepted across the boards: ad valorem taxes, taxes and licenses, restricted governmental, so on and so forth. So just being a little more transparent in that. Third one is adding language to designate authority to the budget officer, which is in our form of government, the town manager, to be able to make budget amendment transfers for adopted appropriations in the original document, or ordinance rather, within a department or functional unit without having to come back to the board. So again, we're adopting at the departmental level, but assigning subline expenditures. So previously, we've come back to you with a lot of smaller adjustments that isn't necessarily efficient when the statutory authority exists to grant that to the budget officer. So asking for that addition to be able to make more adjustments on the fly, if you will. And the final clause that we would add in, there's currently a section that states that all parcels are subject to the town's stormwater fee. We recently learned that while we thought that Wake County was billing all parcels accordingly, exempt or otherwise, they were not. They've made us aware of that now, so we want to be included in there that taxable properties will be billed by Wake County as the arrangement was always intended. The town will be assessing the fee to non-exempt or non-taxable parcels directly through our finance department. So those are the four proposed adjustments to the budget ordinance. No, this is more presentation and kind of just a temperature check, making sure there's no concerns with that as we will be presenting the proposed budget in the next month or so. So as we approach that, just wanted to make sure y'all's comfort level.
Any questions from the board? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I like all this. To Commissioner Joyner's point, it is just really reassuring to know that you're here talking to us about this level of granularity and detail and process at this point in the process. So thank you for how y'all do a great job. I know we talk about that a lot. First two items make plenty of sense. A couple questions on the second two. I'm gonna start with the last one.
Okay.
Why are tax exempt properties subject to the stormwater fee? Is it like a fee versus tax nuance or something else?
Kind of, yeah. It's subject to y'all's will. That could be a policy statement that you would like to exempt them from that fee, but it's kind, to your point, it's kind of a fee versus tax principle.
It's laid out to be a $75 per parcel fee. There's no clarification of taxable or non-taxable. So we should be charging every parcel the way how it's been adopted in the past. So all we're doing is we're clarifying that we are going to start charging every parcel as it's been written. What you get into are the non-taxables such as churches. So it would be a $75 annual burden on those properties. Rain falls on all properties, and we have to deal with that stormwater, but it is a policy question of the board of who you want to pay what at what point in any process.
Yeah, and I think you've heard this from me in the past. I think sometimes there's a tendency to try to separate fees from taxes in a way that and there are differences. I get the policy behind them. I kind of think when the government charges you money for something, that's tax. Largely, all appropriate and for good reason, but just, anyway, I don't distinguish between the two of them very, very strongly, I think maybe as much as some folks do, the way I think about them, so it may be something I want to talk about a little bit as we get more into the budget. That's just feedback on that one from me. And then on the transfer authority, I guess, and really not trying to put you on the spot, really just want to understand, is there anything about the process that we've been using that's been challenging that this would remedy. And what I'm getting at is, I enjoy seeing those, even the more granular transfers that we do see. And I think the way I understand that is usually they come to us, we talk about them sort of in practice, and then we sort of officially adopt them at some point. Is that correct, or is it more of it actually is causing a workflow issue for y'all?
If I can.
Yeah, I mean, you're the budget officer.
Yeah, so I'm having to make decisions for departments to remain operational within the appropriated amount, but I don't actually get y'all's approval till after these decisions have to be made. So this is a function of allowing me to, if police chief has accrued savings in his personnel line and there's a piece of equipment that the police department needs, or if there's a piece of equipment that Public Works needs, or if one facility's costs are a little lower in a year, but this other facility is costing more for a reason than we originally budgeted, we can do that and not have to worry about a board coming back later and changing it because it's within the appropriated department. My practice would be any of those changes are to report those out within a week or two of that happening so that y'all have awareness of me using your authority under statute, much like any other time that I do that.
I'm good with that. That makes sense. I think if there was a way, just like as we're building this good model budget that hopefully future town leadership will be able to continue to look to and use forever, if there was a sentence in there that just sort of clarified, I think that reporting practice, that's I think not putting you on the spot to make budgetary decisions prior to receiving approval makes plenty of sense, having that approval on the front end, just on a regular, established way, having that feedback.
Happy to put that in. I think if my memory serves, the statute, I think actually requires me to do that, which is why I said I do.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Garrett.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? So have you got everything you need?
I'm sorry?
You have everything you need?
I
then?
believe so, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, item 6D is the 2035 Wake County Transit Plan update.
Good evening, Mayor and board members. The item before you tonight is to make a motion to select members to serve on the 2035 Wake County Transit Plan Update Stakeholder Committee. 2035 Wake County Transit Plan update is underway. We as staff serve on a variety of committees at Campo and other, and meet with Go Triangle and Go Raleigh throughout the process. Campo is asking that each municipality appoint 3 members for approximately about 18 months while the process is going on. They anticipate roughly 6 meetings throughout that 18 months. The first meeting is later this month. It might have actually been moved to May, and then the second meeting would be June. But the meetings are a mix of presentations, exercises for the stakeholders. So each town has 3. One stakeholder could be elected. The other 2 are representatives that may represent the business community, nonprofit, advocacy organizations, or interested citizens involved in transportation and transit planning or policy development. So you as a board, every member of Wake County for the transit plan is appointing 3 members for this 18-month process.
All right, who y'all have in mind? Everybody's looking around.
Well, I'll start by just saying I'm interested in the whole list. I'll say for the elected official part, our Campo rep certainly connected to that. Also have been part of the original Wake County Transit Plan work group back in 2013, I think.
2013,
somewhere
2014,
along the
yeah.
line. It's been a little while. Happy to do the elected official portion if y'all would like. I don't know if there's staff thoughts or recommendations about the others. I can think of out of all of us, I'm sure we can think of a whole list of folks. Yeah, we got good turnout here today.
All I can say from a staff perspective is I would love to have the 3 to make sure Wendell is represented in the process, and those that will certainly help push for East Wake to get more transit investments between now and 2035 and continue making some upgrades. So any kind of advocacy or any of the representatives that can help us advocate for East Wake would be important.
What do y'all have in mind? I assume we need to contact them and ask if they're willing to serve in this capacity. It is, say, 4 meetings.
Yeah, like 6 meetings throughout the 18-month process, but yes.
Is staff going to make a recommendation? I mean, obviously, this is Commissioner Eatman's power alley, but outside elected official, are you going to give us some names for us to?
So far, this is the first time the board is discussing this issue. There's been no direction of staff to use our normal process to solicit appointed representation. So we're at, this is a board function and not as an appointment, not a staff.
So we think the meeting maybe the first has been moved. I'm just thinking time is of the essence.
Yeah,
Concern for the very first.
I believe it's been moved back to May.
Yes.
That gives us a little more time. How about if we, everybody puts their heads together and tries to come up with a list and submit that to you, and you can contact those people and gauge their interest.
Okay, we can do that.
Is that all
and
right
bring
with
it back.
everybody? Okay, and we can come back at our next meeting and make the official.
We're sending him
We just sending you the names? or
the
how are
two people that are citizen reps.
Yeah, and we may have more than 2, and we may have some that don't want to do it, but what we may do is, then once the list is compiled, maybe have some communication about who we think would be, brings the most to the table and be able to accomplish the most.
I personally think if Dr. Parham and Commissioner Collins are both going to show up at the same meeting, sit on the same road, we could just appoint them and be done. But
Not to put any pressure on anybody. Y'all didn't get up and leave when everybody else did.
I'll certainly think about it.
Think about it. Ben, okay.
Really in tune to having improvements for transportation, especially for those who have needs and have been following us for.
Wonderful. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Okay, so.
To the point, I know that, I know, Mayor, the talk on racism we went to, there was an advocacy effort of that community to be more involved. So could I, if y'all are asking for my recommendation, I would recommend that if Dr. Parham is not able to attend, to have another member of the Pleasant Grove community to be represented in this study.
Letting him off the hook, aren't you?
No, I'm just saying, I don't know what his schedule is. He's a man in demand. And
I completely agree with that. So why don't we leave it at that? So Deans, Mr. Benny Collins, Dr. Parham, hopefully, if we can continue to persuade him, and if not, someone else from that community, and maybe y'all can get together and talk about that, you and the town manager and the planning director, and figure out who would be a good fit and who'd be interested. And it's important when we do things like this, and I know Mr. Collins knows, we need people who are willing to go and be there. We don't want it to just be a name.
That being said, don't be afraid to come to our meetings. We don't appoint you to things every time you
Well,
come, I promise.
Who left? So we just point them to something. So, but thank y'all for being here tonight. Okay, so we got everything you need?
Yep. Yes, I
All
do.
right.
Thank you.
And item 6E is the personnel policy update. Mr. Collins.
Okay. No action requested tonight. Our personnel policy has been in need of a big overhaul, and thank you to Debbie and Stephanie for doing a lot of work and working with departments. I know Garrett and the police department, a couple others also provided some input into some things that needed to be changed over time. With our personnel policy, any significant change requires me to more provide notice to you and to town staff that a change is coming and provide time for review. So this is a formal notice to you before a policy amendment is posted for staff and your review. And this is not the final copy because I'm missing a slide that I put in earlier. So let me go by, let me get my notes. All right. So, if you can imagine, over time, there've been another number of authors making amendments to the personnel policy, little minor ones. And so it reads like 100 different people have written a book. And so thank you for Stephanie to providing one authorship and format. That's a big part to this. Laws also change, best practices, our risk exposure, subject to ADA at 50 employees. So there's a number of things that happen as the town grows that trigger us to be more aware of what our policy says and make sure it's up to date. When you talk about benefits and leave, you also talk about changing priorities of staff, being able to recruit good staff and retain good staff. And so making sure that our personnel ordinance is up to date in some of those spaces. With any ordinance or policy, they're not written immaculately the first time as much as we try, and they need amendment. And so as you implement things, sometimes you need to make adjustments based on interpretations. If there are things as a manager that I have authority in here to deviate, if I'm constantly deviating, it's much like if you're issuing the same kind of variance in a board of adjustment year after year after year, it's a good signal you just need to change your code. Well, we need to update our policy in some places where I'm consistently deviating. Sometimes it's just our policy is written for a 40-hour work week, but then the law enforcement officers have a number of hours that expand over a 2-week period, and it is hard sometimes translating as an employee to understand that difference. And so getting those hours back to the equivalency of a 40-hour work week for the employee is a clarification that when y'all adopt your budget, you're adopting the position and classification and pay study for that year. That's different than past practices for the town. Our drug screening criteria was out of date and needed clarification and updating. Our promotional activities, clarifications of how that works and how we promote and hire. Our work week, our payroll doesn't match our policy right now. We've changed our payroll to a Monday to Sunday payroll over the 2-week period, and this was written at a time where it was Friday to Thursday. So that kind of an update there. There are provisions that apply to employees from a ways back that are date specific. We no longer have employees that are subject to that, so cleaning out parts of that. One of those areas where I often grant a variance, and we just needed to update the ordinances, is if someone has some kind of illness or extended leave where they've used their leave balance. Our current policy limits the number of hours individual employees can donate in a certain period of time, and there needs to be, I've extended greater lenience time after time in the few instances we've had with chronic illness, and we just need to fix that to make that regular now. We have specific amounts tied to our travel reimbursements. At the same time, we're tied to the state per diem. So we want to get rid of all the specific amounts and just provide the per diem. We've done harassment training for all employees in the past year. As part of that, we've done a review with an attorney that teaches at Wake Forest Law School and represents the league in this space, exceptional knowledge. Reviewed it and told us our shortcomings, provided us an example where she had written that for another county. And so we've taken from that to update our harassment policy. We do not have caregiver leave as a form of leave right now. So if you're pregnant and have a child and want to stay home with the child, if you adopt a kid or foster care, there's no provision for paid leave at this point. You just have to use your vacation or sick leave if it's an eligible FMLA event. If your parents are at end of life and you need to be a caregiver in a situation, there's no provision outside of sick leave in that space. So looking at comparatives, we'll be proposing an up to 8-week leave period, which puts us above average, which is where we tend to want to be able to recruit and retain good employees. Finally was a good board policy from the past budget adoption, and that's the Parks and Recreation fee waiver for employee dependents. So that's the meat of what you're going to see. We'll get that emailed to you in the next few business days, and then also let staff know they're welcome to take a look at it. This is something that we need to review annually, and more of an evergreen review on this. So this is our first shot. We did some work, and we were like, okay, let's take it, and then something else popped up, and something else popped up, and we get busy. It's an evergreen thing. So there will likely be things that need to be changed or updated. We're open to any policy direction. This is one of those things where if we're good with what's presented and the things that we are changing, that if we can get that in place and then start looking at what else we need to address, that would be my recommendation. But happy to take any thoughts or feedback on the very general things without specific language at this point.
Anything from the board?
Say thumbs up out loud.
Letting me down.
The leave stuff, I think, is a really big deal. I'm looking forward to seeing that in our budget. Thank you for your leadership on it.
Annual review. Right, we talked about that, yeah. All right, thank you. Nothing else? Thank you. All right, item number 7, other business, update on board committees by town board members. We have one tonight, Campo, Commissioner Eatman.
I am not prepared at all. We've done a lot of, I had like 3 different Campo meetings at the same time, or within the last week. One of them, we kicked off a pretty big safety planning effort that's underway for the region. That's something I'm really interested in, and something I think that staff is also participating in. And we've already made some efforts, I think, internally in Wendell to improve our transportation safety. But I think traffic speeds and being able to get where you're going quick is important. It's important to me, especially at the end of the day when I'm trying to get home from work, or when I'm trying to get to dinner and I'm late to meet my wife, or anything else that I'm supposed to be doing that I'm running behind on. But you know, nothing compares to safety on the road. And I think that a lot of times we spend a lot more time talking about efficiency and speed on the road than we do talking about the safety of the people that are using the road. And I just think it's something that should take a higher precedence in all our conversations around transportation. It's something I'm focused on. Glad to see the region undertaking that big effort. So I'm gonna leave it on the safety note for tonight, and it's gonna be my focus for the next little bit on the Campo front.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving to our commissioners' comments. Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's certainly a lot of fun stuff you've heard it mentioned before the prayer, and heard it mentioned with Mead Main coming up. So check the town website. Looking forward to a fun spring outside in downtown Wendell, and I am praying that the thing that happens at Mead Main doesn't happen in any Mead Main this year, precipitation-wise.
Jinx the whole thing.
Well,
way to go.
I said I was praying for it. Anyway.
I had to say it.
Maybe we didn't say it last year, and that was the problem. So Wendell is made up of the people, and it is absolutely always going to be a reflection of the people that live here. And for the past 60 years, it had the blessing of a lady who wasn't born here and didn't grow up here, but moved here and then changed an unspeakable number of lives in this town, and Clarissa, but I knew her, and I think most people knew her as Miss Kissy Morrell, who managed Mortex with her husband Ed for 60 years. She was always the cheerful, bright, smiling face. Many of folks, before I lived here, I guess knew who she was because we came to the Mortex outlet. She passed away, and our church family grieved on Sunday, and her husband Ed reminded us that it was a celebration, but I certainly wanted to take, and when we make the motion to adjourn, I'll move to adjourn in her honor. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Kissy's a lovely person. Commissioner Lutz?
Thank you, Commissioner Joyner, as well said. I didn't speak up much during the Habitat hearing tonight. I was maybe along the same lines as Commissioner Honeycutt. I was kind of curious to see what was going to be said tonight. And just, I think, superficially, I think I liked seeing what was being brought from Habitat. I liked the idea of having this town partnership. Like Commissioner Deloach, I like home ownership. I like people being vested in town. When we have, apartments come up, that's fine, but that sometimes leads to renters who are coming and going, and Habitat, and I thought that's such a, I imagine employees of mine or friends of mine, being an option for them too. So I think the project itself is very good. I was curious to hear about density. I know that was kind of briefly just touched on by a former commissioner. But I guess I was also pleased to hear that didn't seem to be much of an issue with others who were here. So I think when you looked at what was kind of towards the, forgive my directional sense, west, and then towards the south, and I felt like it wasn't too far out of the density range from where we were. So I was excited to see that coming to town. I was excited to see that partnership. That Harris Street connector came through there, just made these nice lots as an option, and so I think that works out really well. So that's great. I'm happy to see more people invested in our town.
Commissioner Newman?
Nothing else for me tonight, Mayor.
Commissioner Honeycutt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing for me tonight.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Real quick, I'll say, Commissioner Joyner mentioned the Morels. I think the Morels are an excellent example of people that can move here and can make a difference. You don't necessarily have to be born and raised and been here, 100 years to make a difference here. So it's no secret our town is growing. Our staff is growing. We've seen that tonight as well. And with that, our housing inventory has grown as well. The portion of that is not necessarily grown is the affordable piece. And when we say the word affordable, that's okay. When we say housing, that's okay. But when we say the two together, then all of a sudden it creates a little bit of maybe a whisper when it comes to that. So we do need more affordable options. And that, again, it doesn't mean it's cheap. It doesn't mean it's substandard. But it is necessary. And I didn't get into my TED Talk during the agenda item tonight, but it's not just pricing. The financing piece is a big piece of it. So, if a home is, again, affordable is a relative term to different people. But depending on the price point, we heard 300 plus at the good old days of 3 and 4% interest makes it a little more a little easier to swallow, we should say. But now with rates increasing, that number's pushed down. And I did a little bit of research. And again, affordable means different things to different people. But if you say $275,000 home, again, maybe that person could have afforded 3 1/4 before, but now the rate's higher, it pushes back what you're able to afford. Currently in Wendell, actively for sale, under $275,000, there's essentially one home. I say essentially because it's a pre-sale, it's a marketing price to get you to call and say, hey, I see you have this price home. By the time you put a sink in the house, You know, you paint it, you put countertops in, you pick out flooring. It's not $274, $990 anymore. That price goes up. So, again, I'm proud of what we did earlier tonight. I think there needs to be more of that here. Habitat is a great place to start, a great partner as well. So, again, I didn't address it during the item. We need to vote on it and move it forward so folks can get started. But appreciate everybody being here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Collins, Dr. Parham. You showing up's always appreciated. And now that you're here, we put you on something else. So thanks again. And that was all, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Briefly, since our last meeting, we have probably had at least a half a dozen ribbon cuttings of new businesses in Wendell. Probably more. I didn't go back and specifically count, and there are several more that are scheduled in the next few weeks. So the reason I say that is, one thing, I want to praise our planning department because we have a very business-friendly environment here, and they're very expeditious in helping with things like that, and I appreciate that. It gets things moving and gets businesses wanting to come here. And the second is I want to urge you to shop and frequent these places because small businesses depend on us for their success and for their, so we've accomplished the first task, which is to get them here, and now we've got to retain them. So please go out and shop in these new places that we've got all over town. They're really nice. When I go to the ribbon cuttings, I always wander in and come out with something inevitably. So please try to go in and check them out and welcome them to Wendell. We're happy to have them all here. The next thing is I want to wish a very happy 100th birthday to my friend and Wendell resident, Mr. Ernest Jones. Mr. Jones turned 100 years old. I believe it was March 29th. He had to be hospitalized, so some deviations were made in the way his birthday was celebrated, but fortunately, we all got to still see him. I was invited to an event. Bruce and I went. It was exciting to see. He was completely surrounded by all of his family. They were treating him like a king. He was actually sitting in a recliner with a table beside him full of food and the proclamation from the town of Wendell. I mean, just like they were waiting on him hand and foot, and it was really nice to see. So I was excited to see him there and recognize his birthday, and he enjoyed the proclamation. It recognized his birthday, of course, and also his service. He's a World War II veteran from the United States Navy, so there's not very many of those left. So we need to always remember that as well. That's, to me, that's almost as important as being 100. Can you imagine the things he's seen in his life? I can't imagine. So happy birthday again to Mr. Jones. We're happy that you're feeling so much better. The next thing, we have kicked off our next phase of neighborhood improvement projects. I'm really excited about that. Thank you to town staff for being out there and doing all that. We're currently, these projects now are currently, I guess the best way to describe it is behind Wendell Baptist Church North, going that way. So you try to focus efforts and a little bit of money and some projects and things in an effort so we get a big bang in one area every year or so. It's run over more than a year, but that's because we're doing so many good things, right? So that's happening, that's been kicked off. And the last thing is a reminder that Meet on Main, that's come up tonight. The next Meet on Main's before we meet again, it's April 19th, downtown. The band is Crush. It's from 5 to 9-ish, and the music starts at 5:30. So come on down there and join us. And I'll be down there with Preston Peterson was here tonight. He and I are going to be the information booth people. So come down there and check it out. It'll be fun. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, before you take a motion,
Yes.
can I add an afterthought to 5B?
You certainly can. Go ahead.
Because I don't think we were very clear in responding to Commissioner Beatman's request.
Okay.
And this may help you as you look through it in preparation for when it comes back. And
Okay.
Manager and I will get together. But what is in the package is about 50 pages long, and it's broken down into 3 topics.
Mm-hmm.
There's stormwater, there's illicit discharges, and there's flood damage prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's 3 separate penalty criminal and civil penalty provisions in that text, in that package, which I can give you the page numbers if you want them, but as you look through that for the next meeting, that might help you in review.
All right, thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. All right, so now, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move we adjourn in honor and memory of Kissy Morrell.